So I've been watching the ongoing riots. I mean, not too closely in the UK, but it's pretty fascinating to watch. The disinformation that is masquerading as their information networks at this time. I think one of the worst, which could be run out of China or maybe Russia. Let's not forget London was known as Londograd before the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and essentially they haven't done a damn thing since then that one could consider pushback as far as that cultural decline goes, such as starting some money laundering investigations or auditing the banks or who start investigating some of the people that made that reputation a real thing. Now you think I'm making this up. I do believe it's a book called Londograd. There's a couple of other things that have been published about it. So you have a uni party, Labour Tories were the dumbest of dopes for the Labour Party. Now they got thrown out, Boris Johnson and co. Now the Labour Party proper, like the Democrats on the U.S. side, got in, and yeah, they're this Starmer guy is a complete robot. Look at all of his affiliations, especially who's he married to, what are the money connections, because he's really mishandling these riots. Instead of dealing with the underlying causes, like a city of London that's been a important capital in Western civilization for the last 1,000 years, has had a complete flip on demographics under Londograd kind of direction, where you had money people moving all that money and have had no pushback to note that maybe they were in on it. I mean, we're talking about hybrid operations, aren't we? So follow the money. Have people said that before? Did it ever make sense before? Would it make sense right now? Well, why isn't it being done? Oh, wait a second. Oh, they say the two-tier policing system doesn't work. But then what are they doing? Well, in this case, they're cracking down on the far right. So essentially, you're dealing with radical leftists that use that term. That's a way of seeing them. It's like seeing people that are horn honkers. Like, there's a lot of people that drive cars but don't honk horns. But people that drive past your house and go beep, 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 then you could say, well, that's one of those annoying drivers that overuse their horn. Well, they overuse far right. So essentially that means your information network has been captured by radical leftists. So you're dealing with radical leftists. Where does the left come from? Well, it comes from 1917 via 1919, the International, which was originally a Russian outfit, but they internationalized, they globalized. They were the globalists, the globists, the baggists and bilbos. So two-tier police system, oh, this is native people, native population, revolting against the East Indian Company domestically. Well, where are our Farsi or other groups that we can play off against them and then claim that the problem is the native population and their reactions to a total extermination of their culture and people, individually, collectively, socioeconomically, psychologically, what else way? And then the explainers and mandarins that are on board and leveraged and into that alternative reality narrative, and the bad people oppressing the wonderful mob of humanity that have been illegally boated in on boats with human trafficking, organized human trafficking operations. They're the persecuted party, the people that would be against hybrid invasion. They're the criminals that need to be cracked down upon. They need to use all different types of technology like Chinese cameras and tax devices and bank statements and snitches and neighbors and leftoids and minders and know it all better than thous, moralizing, emotionalized, lunaticized kind of people need to all stand up in a moral outcry unison. And also terroristic groups like, 100 all male kinds of boat dwellers that they have been importing need to form groups and mobs and beat down these terribly misguided native population. So I think Channel 4 News, you need to look at them, how they covered this. Now realize they delete their films like probably after 2 weeks or something. They know there's a digital trail already. So they might publicize some very off-putting things, but their editorial management will kick in within 2 weeks. They'll deep six it. So be sure you get digital copies of all of these. Right out of a psych lab, again, I think it could be Chinese or Russians or their kinds of people that cover this news. Like they'll find, first off, the voiceovers. They have these British sounding voices. They're all done by Pakistanis or Indians behind the scenes, probably edited too. You go into their newsrooms, there's probably no English, native English to speak of except some loony birds. I think there was recently a scandal. One of these talking heads turned out he liked to bugger little kids, and they probably had that all on tape. So he was in for the long ride until he messed up too much and got exposed. So you're dealing with those types of people too. They don't like to switch their talking heads up too much. Like these operations, how many people would get busted if they started cracking down on them? Maybe 20 stooges. And who are their funders? You go look, oh, poof. They disappeared. It turns out it was some international company that was owned by another international company, by another. And then finally the trail runs dead. They're going to have to reanimate Sherlock Holmes to figure that one out. But until then, Channel 4 News, look how they did it. Save all that digitally because they're the cutting edge of disinformation. In fact, they have disinformation people saying, again, harping on this thing that they initially said it was a Syrian that was wrong. Well, that was, again, another Russian operation that got that out there, and it was debunked within a day, but they claim that it was just these terrible disinformation. As it turns out, it was a Rwandan, so another non-native. But he was born there, so you'd be racist to say he doesn't belong in the country. Well, oops, whoop, 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 whoop. Look at that logic, it leads nowhere. Into another little poisonous dead end. A morality argument. Realize people affiliated with the Dictator Alliance, they snort a laugh, whatever fluids they're drinking, when they even think that for a second that type of argument could work on thinking people. Like, oh, the Westerners, they have this conceit that they're so smart, but look at them buy this crap hook, line, and sinker. Well, at least, of course, 10-20% of the dumbest ones. And then they just pretend that that's like 90% of people, right-thinking people. But not right in the political sense, right in the moral sense that they've inverted to mean total extermination is good. And the people that are on board with that, of course it's not going to lead to that. Utopianism, it's not leading to that. London's not nearly that. We don't take census information anymore. Why do you want to know that information? Are you dog whistling? Blah, 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 There you go, getting to those little psychological games with pseudo-intellectuals. Socioeconomic political jammers. Yeah, look at where they're coming in at. Try to get into your relationships, break up families, mess up kids, get in everybody's business. Oh, that wouldn't be radical leftist, would it? Did they learn that? Did they learn how to bully people? There's a lot of women doing that. Little manly, kind of manlet women. And the little bullied boys that listen to everything they say. And they're really nosy and, you could just write them off as off-putting women, but they're a little bit more than that. A little bit more schemerist and networked than that, aren't they? And a little bit more political too. They're wrong on every political issue consistently. Oh, here they are. Am I imagining things? Am I paranoid? So these universities, I don't know. If you're a father or mother, stop sending women there. They don't learn anything good. And the networks they get mixed up with, they're gonorrheic. We're going to make that an adjective now. Gonorrheic, ideologically filthy gutters of disinformation. But of course you're going to get some of these graduates coming out like under their names, disinformation specialists. And what are they doing? Well, they're not debunking disinformation. They're creating an alternative reality narrative that plays into their morality based arguments that are inverted. So, young people, have you not seen the film Wag the Dog? It's from 1997. Don't accept any remakes like they like to do. They like to trash good films. Go back to the 1997 original, and that sort of, now it has an anti-American kind of bent to it. This sort of conceited, oh, look at this, look how they portray Old Shoe as some irredeemable, monstrous redneck. They have these little filthy conceits about being super smart and convincing. But just realize they do believe their own BS. They think they're so smart they can pull off things like that consistently. I mean, just because they've been doing it doesn't mean that they're believable or will be believable forever. But essentially, yeah, that's sort of probably how the UK is rolling. There's some team of people like that are trying to come up with narratives that always fit no matter what happens. So the end result of that is the wheels fall off. But believe me, the operators pull off things like that, they'll be long gone with the loot. But everyone else, yeah, probably you listening to this, they got a different timeline for you. You don't get a damn thing out of it, no matter how much crap you eat. How much you bow down and leverage yourself and browbeat others, you don't get anything out of it. You might get a potato sack and a line, as long as you're consistently on narrative, but what kind of way of living is that? And think of the lives to come. You're a materialist, you're an idiot. You've got a couple of sophist and rhetorical things working for you. But if there is an afterlife, just think, just for a second, if you can't prove that there isn't one, where are you going, do you think? Just imagine hell's real. Like real hell, like not a fairy tale version of it. Where do you, just a little bit of doubt, that's all you need to not go along with it. So, but now people realize, yeah, the cops, how about this? They had they had some of these radical leftist groups go and taunt a bunch of dudes that were just watching a football game, and then they had a line of cops protecting them from reprisals. So are the cops in on it? Are they for the English, or are they just dress up and pretenders? I don't know. Like, I guess you can't say that in England now, because they said the whole problem had to do with the far right telling people all these lies. But that story doesn't really check out, because they suppress all these things for political reasons, don't they? Like the names and the ethnicities of perpetrators and numbers of crimes, who gets the jobs for what reason. politicizing the economy. Everyone else goes to a food bank. I mean, oh, but the economy's growing. They're growing the information economy. Like, not a single solitary thing. They have said for like the last, 20 years has checked out. But who's the problem? Well, it's the disbelievers. It's the conspiracy theorists. Now, look, I'm not for conspiracy theory at all. Okay? Because that's what they use to discredit people. They might be talking about plausible conspiracies, right? They throw in the implausible, so don't go overboard with conspiracy, but you're not being given the straight facts. That's not a conspiracy. But what do? Blame the victim. People are outraged. Well, why? Well, because of these policies and the people who have implemented them. But surprise, they're not changing, they're doubling and tripling down. So where will it lead in a hybrid kind of situation where things are deliberately confusing? So who's made all this money? That's what some investigative journalists should be making. Who's paying these people? So Channel 4, check them out. Like their coverage of these riots, it will go in a textbook in the future of how they were operating. Now apply that principle wherever you are in the West. Australia, do you have operations like that? Of course you do. USA, all over the damn place. So these are illicit operators and illicit operations. There's illicit financing behind it. Is that a conspiracy? I don't know. If I'm the President of the United States, I guess we have to get a commission together and figure that out using some scientists and not, I don't know, Jesus juice. You even allowed to say the word Jesus these days? Something else? Play-Doh and Legos. Who are these experts? They're not experts. They're disinformation experts, but of the disinformational kind. So these authoritarian leftists, radical leftists, they're the damn problem. And you need to get out. You need to start identifying, disassociating, and removing them from your political process. They are not democratic at heart. They are not for the country. They believe themselves to be part of an international radical class. They have no loyalty to you, your country, or any other class. Like working class? Hell no. How about any other class? You don't think you're working class? You're maybe, what class do you think you're in? You're rich class for now? Class? You think they care a damn about you? No, they want to be a regulatory class, a middleman class, or woman class. And then you kowtow. You do what they say, or you don't get your food bank stamps. And if you think it's just that innocuous, let's not forget C-19. Like some people said that they wasted all the old people because they were looking to win the elections going forward without any pushback. So they just identified the demographics and they wasted them, which were older people that knew a little bit more about the country and its values before they were flipped. Would they do something so maniacal, develop some type of flu in a Chinese lab and roll it out worldwide for political reasons? Are these people humanitarians, or do you believe what they say? Do you do what they tell you to do? Would that have been a compliance test, like thousands of different compliance tests? Then you get to live, otherwise you don't, or in poverty. How about that one? 30% of small businesses went out of business. That's what they estimate during their lockdowns. 30%, think about it. These people are for the economy. Oh, the economy's growing, they say. You believe that? And then you got countries like Sweden and states like Florida that didn't lock down and they didn't have that happen to them. But they'll still dispute that they did anything wrong. Would that not be an illicit crime that probably could be seen as a real crime once a bill gets passed. Do you think so? I think so. Do you think crimes like that should be prosecuted, yes or no? I think so. You don't think I can win an election on that? I think I can. How about that? I take that position. We will prosecute C-19 criminals, including disinformationists. Vote for the Mobilized Party. And if you Democrats, just look at them. They're a complete and utter disgrace. And these Republicans, they're 50-50 at best. Got too much money, have no real reason for it. Lawyers of any kind. Probably illicit. I'm going to give probably a 95% chance they're engaged in illicit activities in this despicable year of 2024. And that's how it's going to go down in history too. This is a hybrid war era defined by disinformationists and their lick spittles and baggists and bilbos and 68ers and double back flippers. And this is what they do. They don't want to lose any elections going forward. They want to get them demographics under control, like Cuba. They'd rather have Cuba and bongo parties than meritocracy or industry or national defense or any of those other things. And this is where they're really, really misguided, because they have, again, are out of their strategic depth. The people they're cooperating with in the dictator alliance are just biding their time till they can murk the idiots at the top. It's just they've been useful to them up until this point because they've been such a weakening catalyst. They've been so deluded that they just let them continue. But as soon as they gain the upper hand, they're going to get wasted, along with everybody else. So the sooner the plug gets pulled on them, the chair gets kicked out from under them, the better for everyone else. They're already going. They're on the highway to hell, friends, no matter what we do. But tolerating them even one day longer in office, like I said, UK, hold elections. Vote the Labour Party out. It's not good enough that they'll be out in 4 years. These people are illicit operators. They have betrayed every last citizen of the United Kingdom that has ever been born, like real ones. And there's real crimes behind that, real policies behind that, and there's no reason in the world you should tolerate them. Look at this. They came out and said they're going to address the issues, and they actually are just continuing with their radical leftist murderous rampage. Their destructive, subversive, murderous rampage. Oh, by the way, Americans, beware. They will try to extradite you in a East German Stasi kangaroo court kind of way for incitement and throw you in prison. That's what they said. That's the new news that came out. Americans, United Kingdom, going to throw you in prison. What? Would this be imagine being in a court where someone's like trying to figure out if this is disinformation or not. Is it true that you said this on this day? What? Like YouTubers just like Lukashenko, just like Belarus. That's what they do. And their cultural program, it's exterminationist, it's suppressionist, it's Yakuti-ist. Because let's not forget the Russian Empire has a lot of ethnicities they don't like. Officially, they don't really exist. Or if they do, it's only in a decapitated form. Same policy applied to Anglo-Saxons with their agents and their banking and London-grad associates. So is that a conspiracy? Is that too far-fetched for you? So the sooner these Labour Party people get thrown out, just like the SNP, Scottish National Party, was a ruse filled with criminals, just like the Tory Party was a ruse filled with criminals, the Labour Party, there you go, look at them. These people could be charged tomorrow with national security derelictions that would turn anybody's face red. they could get life in prison just like that if they make it. But they're going to bust Americas. They're going to make an international scandal out of it. See, this is another thing they do. They're robots. Just like they scotched the EU deal, they're trying to scotch the Anglo-American relationship by masquerading as the leadership. What other friends will the UK have at that point? Will it be their Russian buddies again, or what? They're big on Turkey now and India. Where are their allegiances? Are their alliances? Who's going to take care of them? They've managed to alienate themselves from the UK, and now they're trying to incarcerate Americans with patrol the seas because they don't have a working navy to speak of. How's that going to work out? Well, it's not going to work out for them. How does Cuba do it? That's how they're planning on doing it. They only need 100 people for a bongo party. The rest slaves. A couple people in the courts, some squareheads playing dress up and pretend. That's how they think. The radical left thinks they're going to pull it off. So look at their representatives. They're criminals. Call them the Castro Party, not the Labor Party. What does Castro do for labor? Look that one up. You're going to find two stories. You're going to find the Cuban story, official story, and then you're going to find people that fled or fled for their lives. Who are you going to believe? So I'd say the king, the royal family at this point are totally disgraced. And I really am sad to say that. I hope they turn it around. There might be some relatives that still haven't had their balls chopped off. But how they're going to present themselves is anything but ridiculous under these circumstances. I don't know. But they need to replace their PR companies and whoever's been doing the thinking for them. And again, Labor Party, I would say they're illicit at this point, and it's flagrant, it's open, it's internationally and historically verifiable. But they will try to change the story in the future, so capture it now digitally while it's going down, because like within 2 weeks they deep hole or deep six information that would make it pretty easy to figure this stuff out if you know what to look for. But you know, they're against that. That's alternative to their alternative reality narrative. So just like KGB, FSB, that's the most important thing. Like their great patriotic war, they single-handedly defeated the guy that they cut a deal with in 39. But no, on their monuments, officially it started in 41. How did that happen? Well, that little dude at the top with the big head, his organization pulled that caper off. And his friends in the New York Times and whoever else he's been able to pay off, they're on board with that narrative. And you best be still on board with that narrative. They don't tolerate alternative opinions. So it's just like that in academia. Wherever you see that type of bullying personality, which has ideological characteristics, that's the radical left. That's the gonorrhea-ism that we're actually dealing with. It's not far right. It's not a boogeyman where you should be worried about. It's people like that. Emotionalized, dogmatic, moralizing, complainers, whiners, accusers, snitchers, schemers. That type of slime ball is what you're dealing with. But no, they're a new class now. There's going to be the authoritarian class. But the demoralizing authoritarians with no morality to speak of except the thing that serves them best. And if that means flipping on positions, flip-flopping, that's another thing they do with these robots. You were for abortion, now you're radically against it. That's not credible. Whatever is most polarizing, most ridiculous, most buffoonist, most destructive, that's the position their handlers have them take. And again, some of them, who knows what these handlers have on them. You didn't have to tell people this during the Cold War, but apparently there's been a lobotomy of all of the thinking classes in the UK, so you have to repeat these things for whoever's left. But yeah, you need full replacement, not of the population, but of all government agencies, security forces, and politicians, just to be on the safe side. And then just realize you're probably going to get 10, perhaps 20% that you're going to have to weed out after that process happens, because you have determined genocidal enemies, not just at your doorstep, but in the country, working against the comprehensive security of the Western world, socioeconomically, culturally, politically. This is your wake-up call. Make the United Kingdom brilliant again. Now, some people are like, well, how could people be that low? How could they fall that far to sell out all their people, their whole country? Well, look at these people close. These are the bottom of the barrel. They've been selected for that. They have gone through compliance tests that you probably haven't even gotten close to. Like I said, these universities, they're not built for women or men anymore. You want an education, get a private tutor. Read the internet, or go to a group that hasn't been infiltrated by social or cultural or psychological jammers. You're going to have to, that word has just been invented, jamming. Signal to noise. Don't tolerate even a little bit of off-keyness. This is an existential threat that has been underestimated up until now, which is why we're behind this damn 8 ball. And like I said, rich people, they're the D class, A class. They're the facilitator class. They let this happen. They're the collaborator class. At this point, unless they come out and prove that they're not, we'll just assume it. So they have money. The more money they have, the more they sting, as far as I'm concerned. Especially if they came out on the side of this psych babble, the psych class in any way, any of this PC bullshit. It was off-putting when they started, but now it's that smell is the smell of death, and it's the death of all those dead bodies that they sociologically engineered to happen, having been strategically played like the tiniest fiddle that ever existed. They're rich. Throw it away, suckers. You Escobars, just put it in a rat hole and burn it. It would be better for you. So don't be looking up to no rich people in this day. Look down. This classist bullshit is beyond ridiculous. And remember, they think they're at war. So you think you're at peace, you're deluded. Why do we have these warlike conditions? Because they think that way. You don't want to think that. I don't want to think that way. But they do. So they make it that way. So it is that way. So you don't defend yourself. You don't take adequate precautions. They will predate on you. They will use any avenue they can to predate on you and people like you. Especially weak and deluded, stupid and leveraged people. Now, I won't say women right off the bat, but that's pretty much probably 100% of them at this time, give or take some exceptions. But see, this is also their conceit, the Dictator Alliance. They think that poorly of women. And so far, they've been pretty justified in that opinion, haven't they? Look at all these just totally botched, kind of mentally scrambled jammers. They're big time jammers, aren't they? These little bullies know things better. They've been trained to be emotional. Have you ever tried to have a debate with someone who's just completely irrational the whole time? Is that political jamming? Could that go in a textbook? I think it could. So where did they get that conceit? Was it some circus trainer gave it to them, and then some bullying techniques. Is that good for society or your political system or your future as a country? You think so? I don't think so. But then someone will say, "Oh, you just lost the election." I don't think so. I think I just won it. Because I still know 20% know what I'm talking about, and that's the only 20% I ever did want to deal with. And the 80%, they probably have nothing to say anyway. Ask the women in India how they're doing, or Russia, or China. These Western women sucking up to leftoid authoritarians thinking they're going to win the lottery. What? That's a damn disgrace. Don't deep six that digital capture out there, fellows. Don't airbrush that out. But look, of course I'm not going to harp on that. Do you think I want that? Look, for ladies, I want the best life you could possibly have had. And for those that have had their lives rolling by these operators, I'm on your side. And I'm on the side of young women. I'm going to tell you what's up. And if I can protect you, I will. But I can't help people that don't know how to be helped or want to be helped. God's not going to help you either. That's what the devil got. That's the devil's cut. And that's in every damn generation, no matter how well things are managed. How many fathers wanted the absolute best for their daughters, and look at what they did. Damn! You think I'm lying? The repercussions for this stuff is serious, not just in this life. What father wants that for his child? So you idiot conspiracy theorists and man haters or what have you, they sold you a whole bag of bullshit. Every time you open your dumbass mouth, it comes flowing out. You don't believe in God, you had bad experience, you blame man, you're a damn disgrace. Not gonna win an election because of that. You're crazy. Of course I'm gonna win an election. I already won the election. Not gonna be having them count the votes. But yes, I want the best life you could possibly have. And that means with or without children, with a husband or without a husband. Right? All round. May all living creatures be well. I say that multiple times a day, and I include women in that. Especially my own kind of women, right? From my own kind of family that happen to be in all of Western civilization, right? Including Russia. But in their current form, what can one say about them? Right? Kryptonite didn't work for Superman, did it? But Lois Lane did sometimes. So, look, reform, repent. Give up those evil ways if you can. And resolve yourself to be a force for good in this dimension. That's about all you can do. It's not going to be perfect. But you get out of a bad relationship, then blame all men. You're ridiculous. And the same goes for men. You had some bad relationships. Now, I wouldn't counsel anyone to get into one now. But don't blame them all, and do make exceptions for the ones that don't deserve to be treated poorly. And try to look out for them and guide them where you can. But look, some of these hard-headed ones, they're doomed to torpedoism. But as long as these dictator-allied flippers and brokers have access to our public spaces and culture, it's going to be an exasperated problem. But the day that ends is the day we can start the recovery and recuperation and renewal process. And glory be that day. You're feeling down, think about that day. That's going to be a celebration, friends. Look on the bright side, the positive side, the potential that we have. This dictator alliance, they are messed up. People don't want to be in their system. Don't ever forget that. And we didn't vote to have them in ours. They just sort of slimed their way in via the channels I just mentioned. But they can be closed off and spread out, removed. And there is nothing wrong with that. Everything right about that. So you haven't bought me a coffee yet? Start today. You should have bought me 10 yesterday. But one today will do fine. And just keep doing that forward until we pull this off, because without nothing, we can't do nothing. So start doing something, even if it's that small. There's that link. You haven't clicked it yet? Damn. Got people with all types of money but can't even send me a coffee. How's that? Who needs people like that? So this is about the present and the future. We're just going to write the past off as a big mistake. And anybody to do with the left, man, you stink. You've been in that bog of eternal stench. And that will stick to you. So start scrubbing.